The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago, for we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of The Raven. Thank you guys for tuning in. Very excited to be here. We're going to talk about a bunch of topics, like apparently the bank in London shutting down if alien disclosure happens. I don't know. We have an article. I haven't read it. I like to be surprised along with you guys. Plus, we're going to unpack some of this Alberino situation because after the last episode, there's been quite a bit of fallout that I didn't anticipate, and maybe I instigated. I don't know. Who knows? Things got really messy, and I'd be happy to answer any questions from the chat. Yes, I am, in fact, 29 hours late. I was supposed to do it yesterday, but I was observing Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and so did you know that he had an affinity for hookers? I wasn't aware. Before we get into today's show, though, a little reminder, a great place to support us is patreon.com. I don't like this layout. /Nephilim Death Squad. Sign up there. You'll gain access to a bunch of stuff. The chat aspect, the cultural aspect of Patreon has been on and popping these last few days. What with the release of the Alberino debate. And we have to get into that and just all the fallout. But one of the things actually that I have to talk about, and I haven't even talked to the guys about it yet, but I've been having some words with God about specifically Bohemian Grove. And of course, when the tickets drop to Bohemian Grove, Patreon members will get first dibs. And that was the point of bringing that up. So I do want to talk a little bit about Bohemian Grove. Before we do that, say hi, Nance.
Hello.
There she goes, guys. Good to have you, Nancy. Everybody's very excited to hear from you. I am too. We were talking before the show about this whole Alberino thing, and so we'll get into this a little bit later. But on the topic of Bohemian Grove, I've been going back and forth. You guys have been hearing me express these ideas about it. Like, what do I want to do? Do I want to downsize it and make it because there was a time where we had all these big comedians, and certainly the last Bohemian Grove was massive. And that was in part because we had, she does talk too much, Owen Benjamin and Sam Tripoli, Jake Shields, Elijah Schaefer, so many really fun people were there, and they helped us turn it into something insane. But, of course, insane is the functioning word there. And, I don't know that I need to go down that route again. In fact, I've been doing quite a bit of insanity these last few days, and it's been a while since I've dipped my toes into chaotic waters, and being back in them, I've, reaffirmed this idea that, like, this isn't the nature of what I want to do. It's a skill set. It's a skill set and maybe a tool that can be useful for certain things. Hard to say. But it's not what I want Bohemian Grove to be. So then I said, maybe we make it smaller. Maybe we make it Elijah Gafer showed me his dick. I'm very sorry. Very sorry about that. And maybe we make it so that it's just the people who have appeared on the podcast. There's no stand-up comedy. It is strictly what people are accustomed to. Something that is like Chronicles. Something that is like Neph to America. Something that is like Nephilim Death Squad. And we just do that. Something that's like Straight Bible. Maybe something that's like The Raven. And but for some reason in my mind, I thought to scale that down. And I'm going to be a little, how should I put this? Delicate with my words here. But I have become aware, there's a lot of other conferences and events in this conspiracy biblical, community. And There are other podcasters too who do things like this. And I became aware of a specific one in particular that I'm not going to mention that has gone to some lengths to sort of blackball people from this event. And I said, and it was the people who have been blackballed, they express things like the creators of the event do not like when other people get a rub from being associated with them. And so they will blackball other creators so that they don't get big. Now, I don't know if that's true. I have no idea if that's true. It doesn't really matter because we're not being specific here, but I don't like that anybody feels that way. And that's not what I would want Bohemian Grove to do. I want Bohemian Grove to be the tide that raises all ships. So what I'm getting at here is like, why should I roll back this thing that we're building when the last event was insane and very big and very successful? And then after achieving that, instead of looking forward to the horizon to be like, what is the next insane thing that we can do? And it doesn't have to be insane in the chaotic, terrible kind of way, just in size and scope. Instead of doing that, I'm saying, well, why don't we downgrade this and make it smaller? And why would I build a thing that is for God? It's built on a foundation of Jesus Christ. And then once I go, God's got to be the center of this. We can't be going crazy. You know, this is what it has to be. Go, well, we'll make it smaller. Huh? So I don't think our date right now of, and I'm not saying definitively, but right now I'm looking at that date of March 6th and 7th, and I'm looking to push it back, and I'm looking to actually shoot for something really big and something spectacular that is not small. You get what I'm saying? TopLobsta, I don't know if that's the real top in the chat. He says, wait, are we even real Christians? That's a great question. So yeah, it's just September 11th would be it would be a good date. But you know, that's my thoughts here is like, why am I going to say we need to orient towards God more with Bohemian Grove and away from this chaos and really kind of like anything that was bad having to do with it? But then why wouldn't I make this big? Why would I see fit to make a big thing up until it's aimed at God? That seems wrong. So I'm rehashing my thoughts here about what this thing should be. And I think first and foremost, I need to find a venue that I could build a relationship with, that I have some faith in, that they're not going to freak out and cancel us and do all this crazy crap. But yeah, that's not we're not going to Tower of Babel it. Define. Yeah. So that was just my thoughts on Bohemian Grove. So that tentative date that we had of March 6th and 7th, I don't know how realistic that is. I have to find something, and I've got to build something, and it's got to be remarkable. Because the last thing that we built was remarkable, and this one is aimed at God, and it should be equally, if not more, remarkable than the previous one. Does that make sense? Anyway, so you know, we talked about it a brief moment ago. There's been some fallout after the Tim Alberino episode was released. And how we got there is a little bit messy. What about your church? I don't think we're going to do it in the church. I don't even know what's going on with my church because my pastor's about to retire, and the pastor that's going to replace him is not on my list of favorite people to listen to for, you know, so who knows? We'll see. Robert Wolf goes, you guys talk to Alberino? Something like that. That's interesting. Fagator O'Rising says you shouldn't be trying to do them any more than one time annually. That's fair. In October, so I could enter and win the cocktail. Oh no. We can't. I don't think we could do Cocktober anymore. I think that's kind of off the table. So anyway, how is Matt? Good question. That's a good question. How is Matt? I think he's doing well. I think he's come around to a better place. So when I last left you guys on the Raven, we talked about how the episode went. So you go back and listen to that previous episode. If you're a Patreon enjoyer, you'll find it there. If not, you guys have to wait for it to be released in our long lineup of episodes that we've got backlogged. If you want to be, let me tell you something. If you're just on YouTube, if you're just on audio, you're not current. And you know, Nephilim Death Squad has a way of staying active. So you might want to be current because who knows what shenanigans we're up to. How old do you think the Earth is? C-dub. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. Not something that I really have an opinion on. Not something that I've done a lot of research or thought about the age of the Earth. What is it conventionally? It's like billions of years old, right? I don't know. Who fucking knows? Z-Man says, Alberino thanked Matt for reaching out after the episode. Even that was a little bit screwy. And Matt, you know, he has some feelings about that. Not that he has any cross feelings with Alberino, but just the way that it was framed. I don't think he would agree with the way that it was framed. Look, we had a lot of fun after that episode dropped. And we weren't going to have all that fun. That wasn't the intent. The intent was just to let the episode speak for itself. Now, what happened is afterwards, Alberino took to the internet and said something to the effect of, like, define the spirit realm. And he did that on X. And, which is not unlike him. He has a tendency, I've noticed, to do an episode about a thing and then talk more about that thing on Twitter. You know, some of the questions or statements that were made during the episode, he'll talk about them on Twitter. Well, Top engaged in that because a lot of things were left unaddressed on that debate episode. And the reason that they were left unaddressed on the debate episode is because we had a core argument to get to. That core argument, as I've laid out in the past, was why is Age of Disclosure dismissing Christians in this way that you're also doing? That's very much it. And I realize a lot of people who didn't see all of that lead up didn't understand what we were laying out. In other words, if you did not watch Age of Disclosure, if you did not watch the Timothy Alberino documentary, if you did not watch Timothy Alberino's review of the Age of Disclosure, and if you didn't see the way that he's been engaging on Twitter, you lack the context to understand what it is that we were calling out. But nevertheless, I think that's why the audience has kind of been unanimously on our side, not because we're infallible or the audience is glazing us, but because we've walked you guys through. You saw in real time the thought process that laid or led up to this like weird conclusion. Yeah, Keisha says, I watched you watch that crap. And it was crap. So I realize without that context, a lot of people that, you know, aren't in our fan base, yada, yada, they're looking at it like, what is going on? And that's understandable. We stumbled upon like a weird little conspiracy about Alberino. You would have had to have been there. If you weren't, you lack the context. So anyway, Top engages in this back and forth, you know, talking about the spirit realm, talking about angels, much of the discussion that should have been had on that episode, but we weren't able to because the guy filibustered for forever. And by the way, now that the episode is dropped, the comments are overwhelmingly about how he never made a single point and he went on forever and ever and ever. Okay. And then some of the comments, a good amount of them, were happy with the points that we made. And then there's a small amount of comments that are like, you guys aren't Christian. Which, whatever. It's not like Top and I haven't been accused of that before, so it's really not a big deal. I didn't even burp in the microphone, says Keisha. That's how you knew I was being serious. So, anywho, a lot of these conversations that didn't get to happen on the episode start unfolding on Twitter, and Top is reasonable. He didn't call him a faggot. He didn't insult him grotesquely. He made some points, and he might have made some, what would you call them, like declarations about the fact that, you know, the dude filibustered forever. What happens next, and I guess this is my fault. I don't know. I guess this is my fault. An audience member of Tim's comments on our post and says, why were you guys so aggressive with him in the debate? But at that time, Only you guys had seen the debate. Only the Patreon members had seen the debate. So I said, oh, that's interesting. Are you a Patreon member? And then it was quickly very obvious that they weren't, and they were just saying, I guess, whatever Alberino was claiming. Well, and I don't know. I don't think that we were aggressive. We let the guy talk for 95% of that episode. 95% of that episode, Timothy Alberino filibustered, dude. Much to my dismay, much to the audience's dismay. Filibustered. It was crazy, but we allowed him to do that. I think that that was pretty reasonable. We never insulted him. Do you have the mouthwash prepared? I don't have the mouthwash prepared. If you want to send that to me in on Twitter, I'll grab that. So, what ends up happening is Top, I think, correctly identifies this individual, this person on the internet who is not Tim Alberino, as a Alberino gargler, which is funny and accurate. Why did he not look at us at all the entire time, says Jin? I have no idea. I have no idea. Somebody, I forgot who I was talking to, said that he was channeling. Actually, I do know who I was talking to, and I'm not going to name names. But they said... he said that that Tim was has a spirit of pride over him, seems that way. Which that's okay, because Brian said I have a spirit of lust over me, and I don't know. I struggled a long time in my youth with gooning, and I've been free for quite some time, maybe even since Brian brought that up to my attention. So it's not like it's something that he hasn't said about people like me. But he says he has a spirit of pride over him, and that when he's when he's shutting his eyes, he's what would you call it? I don't know. Auto speaking. I don't know what the fuck. Channeling. There we go. Channeling. So, I think Top sent me the thing. I'll bring it up here. So Top says that this guy is an Alberino gargler, and all that I do is I post just a GIF, no words, just a GIF of somebody just gargling. They might have been gargling mouthwash or something like that. And then that's it. I go to sleep. And let me tell you something. The meme warfare went so crazy. I gotta tell you, there is something fundamentally broken inside of me and TopLobsta. The giddiness with which we come up with the silliest jokes. None of the... So anyway, I wake up to the morning, the next morning, and Timothy Alberino has filibustered all over the timeline, denouncing us as Christians. We're terrible people. All right, maybe. He casted pearls before swine in all of his filibustering. That, by the way, the general consensus is no one could understand any of the points that he was making. And I'm a firm believer in, if you cannot articulate something in such a way as to make it easily understood, you do not understand that thing well enough to be talking about it. And not look, or at least debating about it, or coming off as an authority about it. Right? I mean, isn't that a fair statement? It's like somebody who has a real grasp of something can break it down into its simplest form and give it to you in a way that, you'll understand. Why then did the vast majority of people come away not knowing what the hell he was saying? So anyway, yes, he casted pearls before swine. We're terrible. We're not Christians. Be careful. Don't engage with us. Don't listen to our content. You name it. All over the timeline. Huge thing. Hundreds of thousands of views, hundreds and hundreds of likes. Lots of influential people in the community see this. Now, we have a decision here. You could do a number of things. You could ignore it. Unlikely. I mean, we're... like I said earlier, fundamentally broken. You could ignore it. You can get mad about it. Or you can get silly about it. And my goodness, did we get silly. We went to the drawing room, to the writing table, and we came up with some fun ideas, and that just spiraled rapidly. One person in the comment, because what he immediately started to do was insinuate, or at least allude to this idea that we weren't going to release this episode, which we've never done. I could think of a show that has not released several episodes by several of the friends of this show. So in other words, they had people that we've had on, and they didn't release those episodes for God knows what reason. Maybe Tim's familiar with their work. And he was kind of, he said, I've seen that done before. Maybe you guys are going to do that. You're not going to do that, are you? Weird. We've never done that. And we're not going to start with Tim Alberino. And we also explained it. We explained it pretty strenuously. I don't know if that's a correct word to use in this sentence, but we explained it in the beginning through the struggle session that we had at the opening of the show. And even though we told him we're going to release this thing, he still went off and gets on the timeline and goes, you guys are going to... So everybody's now going, release the episode. And one funny person said, release the Alberino files. My goodness. What a novel idea. The Alberino files. What a hilarious concept. And so Top had some time on his hands and a little bit of AI tools, and we made ourselves Alberino files. I don't know if Top sent them. Let me check real quick, because these are funny. No, I don't have them. Top, can you send me the Alberino? Send me the Alberino files if you get a chance on Twitter. Very funny, dude. So we start making, images of binders that say, because it's like the Epstein files, right? And we're making Q drops, but there are drops. R for retard. It probably was Scott, Jin. It probably was Scott. And our Patreon starts getting blapped up with Q drops. Okay, I think Top just sent them. These are some of the stupidest things. Yes, here we go. We have a whole folder of them. I didn't know we had this many. That's so funny. All right, let's go through some of these real quick. Hold on a second. I got to share these. I love it. It was like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to make, and we came up with a great idea. So here's this one, right? Q drop number 8675309 out of the Alberino files. It says, Indiana moans, echo in the chamber. Adventure aesthetics, archaeology as theater. Why the soundtrack when evidence is... Oh, my God. It's so funny. What grows longer the less it says? Walls of explanation. Word salad. Delay. Disguise as discourse. It's like very funny, but it's so accurate. Not a reveal. A release. Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Retards in control. I love that. That is the fun. I can't tell you. I just want to frame this for you guys. He is attacking our character. And he is saying that we are terrible. And we are doing the silliest things. Of course, we could have came back and said, I think that Alberino is a Gnostic, deceptive, he's working with, like any of these things. He's a Fed. What do we do instead? This. Yeah, Nola says you can never trust somebody who can't take a joke, laugh at themselves, or who takes themselves that seriously. Agreed, 100%. So this is an opportunity just for promotion, right? Still Reserve says you guys promoted it good. I agree. This is probably some of the best guerrilla marketing we've ever done. And it was all silly. So look, man, I just want to frame that for people too. While he's out calling us evil, look what we're doing. Very just silly things. We're not attacking him or, you know what I saw? I saw at one point his wife was in the comments. And she's just like, going off. And I'm like, oh, my God. I hope everybody just leaves her alone, because that's crazy. I didn't like that she decided to hop in. And I don't think anybody engaged with her, but I'm like, how crazy is this? Is this guy spiraling at home? Here we go. Alberino Files 8675209 number 2. Camel remains. Distraction remains. Eyes down. Hands move. Bowl relocated. Who touched? 6 p.m. Eastern. The archive breathes. Retards in control. I mean, these are just so funny to me. Collins Elite. True legends. Who anointed them? Who benefits? A Wakanda necklace flashes. Oh my God! Symbol over substance. Optics over proof. Mark your calendar. Mark the edit. Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Retards in control. I mean, guys, this is the best shit ever. And honestly, I can't even express to you the joy that this brought me. I mean, once again, I would like to reiterate. We had crashing out on this dude would have been reasonable. Freaking out and being like, he said we're not Christians. He's this and that. He's a disinformation agent. He's a Fed. He's a nut. But we didn't do any of that. Because what Tim Alberino wants more than anything is to be taken seriously. It was so funny. Somebody said, trust the plan. We not only did we do retards in control, we did where we Guam one, we Guam all. We had a couple of other taglines that were bangers. Top made the funniest one because I was like, yo, make one that paid by billionaire. Make one where Will from Stranger Things is talking about Will being in the upside down, and then make Bruno being like, well, first we have to define the upside down, and then Top nailed it. So we made the meme and we put that out there, and then he made another meme. Oh my God, so funny, so. I was howling, and people were actually crashing out. Oh, what happened to my thing? There it goes. People were actually crashing out. They're in free comment section. You can call me this and that. Oh, here we go. Kingdom in Context says Nephilim Death Squad. Let's set up a debate between me and Alberino on biblical cosmology. His idea of neutral aliens will be cut off at the knees. I believe that 100%. But let me tell you, I doubt he's ever going to talk to us again. I doubt he's ever going to talk to us again, dude. After what we did to this man who wants nothing more than to be taken seriously, I doubt he will ever speak to us again. Here he goes, another Alberino file. Who speaks without proof? Who is immune to questioning? Why is security framed as hostility? Follow the money. Billionaire money prefers dim rooms. Transparency itemizes. Silence. But this is all done in the style of Q drops. Honestly, one of the silliest ideas, but one of the best ideas that we've had. Just this sort of thing. It was so. Who's this? Gillian says, "Can we agree Ryan Bledsoe is a fake and a shill?" I don't think he's a fake. I think something happened to him. I think he's obviously wrong about what he's talking about. The divine feminine is a huge deception. It's not a goddess in any kind of good sense. But it is, I believe something actually happened to him. I think he's just being deceived. Honestly, after talking to Fringe about the Bledsoes and like what they went through, like Chris Bledsoe was shown by these entities like his entire family dead. You know what I mean? And like all kinds of horrifying shit. So like the idea that he folded and starts parading around the lady is like, it actually is a little bit sad. Now, am I going to make fun of Ryan Bledsoe and Chris Bledsoe? 100%. But I also feel that it's horrifying to come up against something so scary. Because let's for a second drop the comedy. I don't really want to, but let's just for 1 second. You're abducted. This thing is showing you your family dead, and then it's telling you that it's basically weaponized the Greys against you, but it can make them go away. Like, yeah, dude, that's scary as hell. But yeah, he's being deceived. So, yeah, I mean, the Alberino Files was a great start to things, and then it spiraled even more. We started we started shouting out to our sponsors. Albacore tuna cat milk was one of them. And I mean, guys, just think about, once again, I know I'm framing the narrative here, but if anybody should, it's, I was a part of it. I should be able to frame this shit, at least from my own point of view. He's telling everybody that we're not Christians. He's telling us that we're terrible. He's telling everybody we're terrible. He's telling thousands and thousands of people that we're terrible. And what are we telling people? To support our sponsors, Albacore Tuna Cat Milk. It's a great source of probiotics and protein. It's packed with gills. Use promo code PERHAPS for 10% off. This is what we're doing, right? And he's sounding the alarm, great big Christian alarm, sounding it. And this is what we're doing as. Come on, baby boy, we don't mess around. And then, of course, we have Albacore Tuna Dark. These are very funny things. So we went crazy on the timeline. And we cranked these out in high volume and high quality, if I do say so myself. And choppy audio. I think I'm having some internet issues. I don't know what's going on. I saw for a second this thing dropped out. I can't wait until the cease and desist letter gets delivered to the coffee shop. That's what I'm expecting. That's what I'm expecting. Is it? Is the audio being that bad? That's annoying. Sorry, guys. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, it's just strange to me. It's strange because he said that we insulted him, which we did. He claimed that we insulted him, and we did. But we insulted him. So this is we're going to give you a brief overview of exactly how this shit went. Tim Alberino says, if you think aliens are demons, you're an idiot. Then he goes a step further and he says, don't get your alien information from Nephilim podcasts. Never go full retard. As somebody who's fully retarded and has a Nephilim podcast where I say aliens are demons, I took offense to that. So, I decide to dress like him and make fun of him on the timeline. Everybody knows. You guys all saw that. That was fun. And it was all fun. It was silly geese, whatever. And he sees this and he asks for a debate. And I say yes. And then I continue doing silly things. Dressing up like him, cracking the whip, calling him Indiana Moans. I made a tuna melt of him. I made a tuna melt out of him. And Timothy Albacore tuna melt. Okay? And he asked for the debate again. He asked for the debate 3 to 4 times, I think, in the span of about a month. Yeah, Top says it. We say no for 3 weeks. I said yes initially, but once he came actually knocking for it, it was what is there to do here? But it didn't matter. My point is, through all of the insults that were very silly, there he is. He's in the chat. He says, I just subscribed to your Patreon to call you a cocksucker. So then you can tell me if you agree with the sequence of events, Tim. In this time, the interim between dressing up like him and him asking for the debate, and then the debate actually happening, we continue to make fun of him. And when he comes on the debate, I am dressed like him. We say perhaps during the debate. I ask him to meow during the debate. When he comes into the green room, back room for the debate before the show starts, I play the Indiana Jones music. Okay? It was a silly goose time all the way through. Now, albeit things got serious in the debate because I had a very important point to make. See, what had happened was, when he said he wanted to debate me, I decided to do some research on the guy. Because I figured that we would probably agree on most things, and, I'm not going to come unprepared. If you're going to ask me to fight you on a certain day, I'm going to train in the interim. If you ask me to debate you on a certain day, I'm going to study in the interim. So we start to watch his content and I discover something strange. You guys all know how that went. I said, why are you worried about the Antichrist coming from this thing, but you're glazing age of disclosure? Make it make sense. So in that respect, there was some seriousness merited in that moment. I think that's fair. And I don't think that I was rude, and I don't think that I was nasty, considering I let the guy speak for 95% of the episode. And my accusations weren't like obtuse and crazy or any of these things. Whatever. So, as soon as the debate ends, we then take to the internet. Some discourse happens, or Discord. I'm not sure which word is applicable here. But he says something about, are we going to release the episode? And I say, I'm only going to release the episode if I can edit it to make myself look really good. And if I can't do that, I'll not be releasing the episode. It was, all of it was silly all the way through. And then I think what happened was he didn't like the way that he looked. And I don't have to tell you how he looked. Go and check out the comments. You'll see how he looked. You'll see how he looked. Long-winded, filibustering, wild ideas, coming off about being a source of authority on things that nobody is a source of authority on, telling us that the science and research is settled on a matter that only a few years ago wouldn't be allowed to have a conversation about within the greater scientific community. So it's wild to say the science has been settled. Saying things like the alien abduction phenomenon is only ever physical. I know that not to be true. That's retarded. What are you talking about? That's retarded. So he said a bunch of things. And look, I say retarded shit all the time. I'm not very smart. I get a lot of things wrong. That's not the problem here. In fact, none of this is really a problem. Except for my weird little suspicion that, like, you're doing something strange here when you're saying the same thing as age of disclosure and you're, like, dismissing Christians. That's weird. Mr. Blappity says, I don't think he took you guys serious from jump. Then he realized he needs to talk his way out. I think that probably was it. But like, anyway, you know, that is the thing that's a little bit of a problem. Is like, what are you saying here? Why are you saying the same thing as age of disclosure? And I'm not going to rehash that. You guys know what my problem with that is. But the problem only comes when through it all, And then we get back to sorry, Colin. Colin Bowser says, I love you guys, but I'm going back to YouTube. StreamYard is so ass. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard right now. I'm sorry, guys. This is streaming in other places, but if you want to stay on StreamYard, I highly recommend it. So it only becomes a problem when all of a sudden you freak out and you say that we're not Christian. You say that we're terrible people. You warn people against us. You tell people not to associate with us or whatever, or listen to us or any number of things. What? I made you a tuna melt. I told you I liked the way that you dressed. Why are you doing this? So I don't know, man. It was all weird. We were consistent through the entire thing. Through the entire thing. This dude did a 180 on the tail end there. Nola says, you rebuked him for not pointing people to Christ on his huge platform. That's a huge litmus test. That was the Holy Spirit coming from Tank Top. Tuna didn't like it. I've already said that. I've given the glory to God. Anything that I did right in that episode, if there was something true and I did highlight it, I asked God to help me do that. So when it does happen, that's God. That wasn't me. And I'm not saying like, that sounds like a douche thing to say, but I have to say it because I know the prayer that I prayed on the way to the shop. And then I know the thing that happened was exactly what I had prayed to happen. PLP, he makes a great point. So how do you feel about, it's Prometheus Lens. What's up, dog? How do you feel about Matt conversing with him after an apology or after and apologizing on your guys' behalf? So that didn't happen. And this is actually what's really, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad that Alberino painted it that way. I think it's interesting that Matt got to see that. So what actually happened was Matt got into a message with him on Instagram, and Alberino said, yeah, man, they're posting GIFs of people gargling cum, which is not, hey, we don't know what that GIF was. I didn't type in cum gargle. I typed in just gargle. Could have been anything. Peroxide. Here's a healthy thing to do regularly. You know, you don't overdo it, but whatever. Listerine, I don't recommend it. I think Listerine causes, actually, I can't say medical things here. I don't think it's good for you. Could have been.
You made him kiss another man, though.
I did make him kiss another man. Thank you for reminding me. And I apologized for that because I realized that I had made a very gross thing. What I will say is I only asked Grok to make Timothy Alberino kiss Lou Elizondo. I did not tell Grok to make it passionate. Grok took it upon itself to make it very passionate. That was weeks ago. But I took it down and I apologized because I then, you know, when you make something that's like kind of like sexually, weird, you put that in people's heads. I did that. I put that in people's heads. So I took that down and I apologized. But look, when you're going, it's crazy. And I said, hey, forgive me. War's crazy, right? I didn't do some mean things. What is it? This is the only mean thing I did, C-Dub. I said, in war, your mind gets a little warped. I'm gonna finish explaining that Prometheus lens. So sometimes you make a joke, one joke goes too far. Okay, hey, I'm sorry you had to see that. I'm sorry I made Grok do that. I'm sorry. But on the topic of the Matt, so he goes, oh, there's, they're making me gargle. And Matt is still in a text mode. It was the fog of war. Thank you very much. So Raven, it's not war. This is war, right? So he goes, they made me gargle, or they made somebody gargle. And like, technically we didn't I made him kiss Lou Elizondo, but the person who we made the GIF for of the guy gargling mouthwash was just somebody that was pretending they had seen the episode when I know that they weren't part of the Patreon. So I think that they deserve that. So Matt says, they did what? Because he's not on Twitter. He goes, man, I'm sorry. Whoa. And then like a little bit of conversation goes back and forth, and he goes, he says, here's my number. Give me a call. Matt goes, what, dude? Oh my God. I gotta talk to Alberino? Because Matt doesn't think we're cool. He thinks Alberino's so cool. He thinks all these other people are so cool. Alberino? And when he talks to Alberino, he goes, hey, in your post, you said that we did a fake prayer. And that actually, I'm actually a little bit upset about that. I don't care that he said that we're not Christians. What else is new? I don't care that he said we're terrible. You might have an argument for that. I don't care that he warned against us. We're not for everybody. He said that Matt's prayer was like a fake one, so that people would think that we were Christian. Is like, dude, you fucking faggot. You have no idea how much respect this guy has for you. Imagine that. Imagine you're watching this guy's DVDs, you're reading you're showing your kids his DVDs, and you have this prayer, and the prayer is for prosperity for not only us, but for Tim Alberino in our pursuits of furthering the kingdom of God. And you use that against him. Like, so whatever. Matt basically says like, hey man, That prayer was real. And I hate that this is turning out to be this way. No, Matt said amen. Alberino didn't say amen. So yeah, the only apology that Matt gave when he's like, what? I didn't make of, gargling. Because he's not even on. He doesn't understand what's going on. He's not on Twitter. So what happens? He has this conversation with them. Alberino says, they wouldn't talk to me like that if they were in my backyard. Yeah. Matt also said he didn't call to apologize, which is exactly how Alberino framed it. So he tells Matt, oh, they wouldn't talk to me like that if they were in my backyard and we were enjoying a stogie together. Like, yeah, dumbass. Because you didn't invite me to your backyard to debate. That's another thing that people don't understand here is like they think what they saw is representative of the show at large. And I think we could all understand it was a major departure from what the show is typically like. But that's because we've never had a debate. So it's just really funny to me that you would say, like, you wouldn't say that to my face in my backyard with my stogies. Yeah. Of course we wouldn't. I mean, it depends on what you invited us to your backyard. I would show up to your backyard and bare knuckle box you if that's why you invited me. It's all about the context through which you've set the stage. You set this up as a debate. So don't give me this like you wouldn't say this shit to my face kind of a deal. You wouldn't
challenge
do this to
him
my face. To a bare knuckle boxing match? I'd love to.
Yes.
If he would accept me in his own backyard.
Yes.
Loser buys stogies.
Yes.
Yes. I just like it's such a disingenuous. It's not a genuine. What's the fucking word? Is it disingenuous? It feels weird when it comes out of my mouth. Disingenuous. But yeah, man, all of that is like. It feels so snaky. So you get in our buddy's ear and you tell him that we would never do this. And look what he's done to me. Look what they've done to me on Twitter. They made me milk. They made me a cat. They made somebody an accusation that they were gargling. Can you believe it? They would have never done this if they were in my backyard with stogies. Both wear hat. First one to have their hat knocked off wins. I think I deserve a better hat. I think he should give me his hat after that debate. But all of it is just so... And then just to go to Twitter and have that. Like, dude, we called you Indiana Moans. Right? We made fun of you for the whips. I called you Timothy Albacore tuna melt. We made fun of you a lot. Why didn't you denounce us then? I think you only did this because our behavior has been incredibly consistent. I think you only did this because you didn't like the way that you were shown. I think that's it. I don't think you liked the way that you came off in that debate. I think that's it. He already has one. It's under the cowboy hat. But, like, it's the only thing that makes sense. It's not our behavior. We've been like this since the jump. Right? But what was the big thing that changed? He looked really bad. And look, it's not because of our superior intellect that he looked really bad. He talked for 95% of the show. He just did it himself. He came off the way that he is. Yes. It's not like we got him. We used our brains and we fucking... No! We just let him talk. We let him talk. He told... You know what? No, I'm not even going to say anything. I just know that he was aware and was not pleased with the fact that he filibustered for 50 minutes about what are demons. You know, so just what do we know about people? Well, if you're embarrassed, you might get a little bit reactive, right? People get reactive when they're embarrassed. Well, was he embarrassed? I don't know. Maybe he should be. We didn't do anything to him, but he fucking did it himself. And then afterwards, did he get a little reactive? Well, he certainly did. What did you guys do? The same shit from jump. From the beginning to the end. We made legendary comedy. As we do. As we do. We just made silly jokes. He had his wife defending his honor. I know, I saw that and I don't like that, and I didn't even look at if anybody responded to her. I hope not. I hope not. I hope everybody just left her alone, because I don't know. I don't know what was going on in the Alberino household, that his wife, who, like, God bless her. God bless her for coming to bat for her husband. But it makes me wonder if he was that distraught in his house, to the extent that she decided, she's like, I got to get in this Twitter fight. Yeah, dude, she jumped in. I saw her name. I was like, I saw the last name Alberino on a chick, and I was like, dude, no, come on. I don't want to do it. We don't want to do this. I literally ignored it, never addressed it. Oh, he was probably walking around his house whipping shit. Just destroying pottery. Doing fucking somersaults around. Oh, my God. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how bad things got over there, but I have a feeling that this... so, apparently now, and I don't know if this is... maybe there's some blurry creature enjoyers out there, but apparently they just released an episode today or some shit with Alberino talking about the age of disclosure. And I don't know if that was an older episode, could have been recorded a while ago. So there's no reason to assume that this would be damage control for what happened, over the last few days. But it is interesting, the timing. But, I think a show like that has a tendency to record, a while back and then release. I mean, we certainly do. I was listening to Ed Mabry's second appearance on The Confessionals today, which so far is fantastic. And I know they recorded that like fucking 3.5 months ago. So, but yeah, the timing is interesting. CW says, I don't really like the blurry guys much anymore. Seem to be wearing little hats as well. I don't really know. I used to listen to them, and then I stopped listening to them, and I stopped listening to them around the time of the Red Heifers. So put that into perspective. Is it been like 2 years since that, or a year and a half? I don't know. Niggas be recording shit to release it later. Crazy concept. Yeah. So I don't think, unless he hopped the line, he went to the Blurry Creatures boys. He's like, we gotta record something right now because these people are turning these psychos against me, and we have to do something to combat it. I don't know. Who knows? Was Alberino ever on The Confessionals? I don't know. Hasn't Kurt been doing the derp on Tuesdays? Oh, I don't know. But yeah, it's been a roller coaster, and I'm biased. Blurry fans are the opposite of our fans. I would agree wholeheartedly with that topic. There couldn't be more opposite. They've done that to me before. Rushed to record something to get it out before me. True story. I don't know what they do, but I think a lesson has been learned here, and that is like, maybe don't fuck with us. Not because we're great intellectuals. Not because we'll fuck you up. No, because we'll make fun of you until you want nothing more than for it to stop. And we don't have to be vicious or gross or any of those things. We could turn you into milk. We could turn you into coffee. We could turn you into a tuna fish sandwich. We could turn you into QAnon drops. We could dress like you. We could mock you relentlessly. And you won't know what to do because we do the same thing to ourselves. So you just don't know how to place it. You know? Into a Catman baby and wreck your marriage. I hope that's not what happened. I hope that's not what happened. No, it's not an ego, Arcane. I mean, I'm literally retarded. I have a nose ring. I dress quite homosexually. You know, I'm 5'7". Like I don't have a lot of great things going on. But I have a good sense of humor. And it's a unique one. You know, growing up in like the hood, you would have like black guys were just so good at roasting each other. So good at roasting each other. Missing teeth. Thank you, Timothy Alberino. Tooth. And I'm going to get a gold one and it's going to be great. But that's not the way. I always wish I had that ability, the kind of roasting one another thing. I have like a much more of a psychotic sense of humor. It's very chaotic. And out of that chaotic sense of humor, really funny things emerge. You know? Like, I can guarantee you this. No one has ever dressed like Indiana Jones and mocked him. Isn't it kind of an obvious thing to do, though? I would love to get a gold tooth. I need gold tooth money. I have a feeling that a lot of our support in Israel is going to dry up after this whole... I have a Seven's head. Thank you very much, Brandon Collins Elite. But yeah, a lot of our funding that would have come from Israel, that's kind of been cut off. So gold tooth is pretty pricey. I don't know where I'm going to get gold tooth money. See, Kind Davey says you guys should have bought up Paul Stobbs. Paul Stobbs is what you mean? Research. You mean on the Nephilim look like clowns and things like that? The only reason I didn't is because if you get caught up trying to address a lot of things like do angels actually have wings or define the spirit realm, we would have never gotten to the point. You know what I mean? Yeah, that too. Top was in hell. Airports and shit. He had time to burn. New York City. He had time to burn. And he dedicated those time and that time and resources to creating banger memes. A gold tooth with the what did that say? Hold on. A gold tooth would compensate for the 5'7" height by at least 2 inches. I'll take it. I'll take it. Sometimes I look at that surgery where they break your shins and stretch them out, and I go, "Fuck, shit." You know what kind of things I could do with an extra 5 inches on each shin? That's 6 foot, right? Jeez, I'm 5 inches away from 6 foot. That's upsetting. So, you know, I just think we were incredibly consistent through the entire thing. Dudes need to quit look maxing. How tall is Nancy? Nancy's at least 6'7".
5'10".
Same thing. I just know that we caught some pictures of you at Bohemian Grove, and you look like you were talking to the Lollipop Guild. Tall ass. All right, so here, let's actually get into something at the hour mark. Geez, I literally told Nancy before the show, I was like, I don't want to talk about this thing for too long. I think there's no thing that I cannot talk for too long about. So this is something that came up shortly after all this fallout with Alberino, and I thought it was fascinating. We're going to bring up this article here because I've not read it. And this comes from Disclosed TV, reputable news source on X. Some percentage of sarcasm is in there. The Bank of England urged to plan for financial crisis triggered by an official announcement confirming the existence of aliens and put contingencies in place to prevent collapse, which is where we get the name of the episode, right? Fake money, fake aliens. There's this idea that the banks need to position themselves appropriately in order to avert collapse. That's weird. That's strange. Oh, here, let's oh my God, yeah. I didn't call Jacob Israel a false prophet. Jacob Israel came after me in the middle of all this. Like he smelled blood in the water, but it wasn't mine, and he didn't know that. and he came for me. And I said that. What did I say? I said, you know, aliens don't always flee in the name of Jesus, but that doesn't mean that they're not demonic, because the 7 sons of Sceva didn't have authority through the name of Christ. They couldn't get it done. And Jesus himself talks about how some of these things need to come out through fasting and prayer. You know, so in other words, there's different ways to get these things out. And I imagine that there's a number of factors. I didn't say this, but there's a number of factors like generational iniquity and your faith and walk with Christ. And there's probably a lot that goes into it. And he came up and he was like, and he's been, this is the truth about this thing. I don't want to go on for too long because I don't even want to talk about this guy, but he has been butting heads with Top, but Top has kept it like just to the DMs. Like he's not going to put him out on the timeline because he doesn't deserve that. Not that he's not being a goofy asshole, but that like he doesn't deserve the rub that might come from that, you know? So Top wouldn't bite, in other words. So he keeps coming to me and he keeps like nudging me. I post a meme making fun of somebody. He's like, don't do that. That's not Christ-like. I go, But he keeps poking me. And he wants me to engage. And now he sees this Alberino thing and he's like, I gotta. So he goes, that verse was added 2,000 years later. That verse is not real. Jesus never said that. Something to that effect. I don't know because I fucking really didn't read it beyond the that's not true. And I said, he said demons are deceptive thoughts. And I said, no, they're more than deceptive thoughts. I've seen them. And he goes, you didn't see them. You're a liar. Or something like that. And I would go, I saw them. My wife saw it. My kids saw it. You say whatever you like. I don't care. And he goes, well, now you're invoking your wife and you're a bigger liar. Or just something. And I'm like, oh, I see what's happening here. And I said, it's actually a pretty funny little tweet. Maybe I'll bring this up because I use Toad's image and I love this image and I just think it's so funny. I don't know if I can find it, but I think I did a great job of capturing exactly what it is he's actually trying to do. Here it is. There we go. Very funny. So let's share this one. And boop. So I said, I know what you want. You want what's happening to Alberino to happen to you. You think it'll be good for your brand. I said, sorry, baby boy. I know you have an affinity for wrestling, but I don't do kayfabe. Good day, sir. And I hit him with this fucking awesome picture of Toad. Incredible picture of Toad. Just a legend. A pimp. Top hat, cane, tuxedo. Good God, what a cool son of a bitch. And then he goes, you don't know what I want. And to this day, I still won't read it. I said, I'm not reading all that. Tell you what. How's about I send you a case of our finest albacore tuna milk in these trying times? On the house. Touch base with our sales department. Later. And I literally never... And then he goes like this. He goes, you read it. Nope. Didn't read it. Still won't read it. Don't know what it says. Don't give a shit. But I think I nailed this dude so fantastically. Because he's come on our show before and he's been like, well, I don't know why the algorithm won't, I'm losing followers or something like that. I go, oh, I don't know, whatever, dude. And he goes, and he goes, he's even been on our show and said, I prophesy that Nephilim Death Squad is going to be big. And we're going, all right, man, like, cool, thanks. And then he's in the comments there and he's basically calling me like a liar. And he's saying, and I'm like, oh, dude, you see that this is like stirring up the algorithm and you want a piece of this. That's fucking embarrassing. That's embarrassing. And he used to work within wrestling. He used to work for the WWE when it was the WWF, writing. And he's trying to do kayfabe. How gross is that? Very gross. But yeah, so I don't know what the hell is going on with Jacob Israel, but I don't even care to read the rest of the thing. I think he's actually just like trying to farm algorithm. Ugh. Very gross, sir. My battle with Alberino was real. I mean, it was real crazy, but it was real. It's very strange. All right, so let's continue. Look, it's one of them. Hold on, guys, wait. Shout out to Irish Rooster in the chat. He says, I'm a jealous little man. This is one of the guys that's like one of the 5 people that have showed up from Alberino's camp to... Don't say that to Alberino. I love him. That's not a penis thing. That's more of a breast thing, like a breast milk thing. Don't get the wrong idea. Yeah, blappity blap blap. You're not shadow banned. You just suck. I don't even know if he sucks. I'm not saying he sucks. I'm just saying, like, why are you trying to do this? This is weird. It's a weird thing to do. All right, so let's go back to this age of disclosure thing. I guess we'll put this up and we'll try to read it. We'll try to. I'm not a very good reader. Boom and boom. Okay. So, Bank of England must plan for financial crisis sparked by aliens. A former senior analyst at the Bank of England has called on Governor Andrew Bailey to develop contingency plans in the case of an official announcement that confirms the existence of extraterrestrial life. Helen McCall, who worked in the financial security at the central bank for a decade until 2012, warned that such a disclosure could cause severe market disruption. She urges that confirmation of technologically advanced non-human intelligence behind unidentified anomalous phenomenon, UAPs, would likely trigger ontological shock, leading to extreme price volatility, loss of confidence in trading asset pricing, and potential bank failures. Man, that was maybe the most boring sentence I've ever read. McCall highlighted possible market reactions, including rushes to physical gold, precious metals, certain government bonds. This is in London, so they don't have to worry about rushes on ammunition. So I think in America, the number one thing that we would do is buy ammunition. Every time I would see an announcement about an alien, I'd go and buy more ammunition. So certain government bonds or cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, if you trust in government-backed assets, erodes. Not sure what that means in this context. She cautioned that precious metals could lose safe haven status if new space technologies promise increased supply. So if space technologies said somehow, I don't know how, what does that mean? Space technologies promise increased supply of precious metals, and then we can see the market crash because scarcity creates value and we would have instead abundance. I don't know if that would really matter then. I mean, space technologies, if they could increase the supply of precious metals to the degree that they would no longer be scarce and therefore no longer valuable, it's reasonable to suspect that they could create abundances in other areas where we wouldn't really have to worry about silver and gold, right? I mean, I don't know. It seems a silly alarm to raise for such a hypothetical. She further predicted an unprecedented run on banks, payment system collapse, and civil unrest within hours of clear, undisputed evidence. Really? Civil unrest? You think so? Yeah, all the money is fake. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I just don't think we'd get civil unrest. I think no one would care. I mean, aren't we to that point where every time they try to say something, alien related, the collective American populace just shrugs? I don't really see that as happening. That sounds a lot like that old sentiment of like people would freak out if they're ever. I mean, they've already come out. 2017 crashed off-world craft have been recovered, and they came out a couple years later and they said we've recovered non-human biologics, and we're just getting blapped up constantly these days with all kinds of alien shit. I don't think anybody's taken to the streets. That Tai Chi ad is crazy. I don't think anybody's taken to the streets. Who are you taking to the streets about? The last thing I'm thinking about doing if they tell me that the Pleiadians are real was going outside. Fuck am I go outside for? Yeah, they don't even notice it anymore. I don't understand what are you talking about? Paid protesters. Honestly, JJ, I'm to the point where I don't think I think protests and, to a much higher degree, revolutions are never genuine. I don't think it's within human nature to do that. I think it has to be orchestrated. Society has to be subverted, and somebody has to infiltrate the underbelly of American culture and try to create a grassroots movement. I just don't think any of that shit's real. Yeah, Atma says, aliens are real. Okay. I need groceries. Don't care. Yeah, Jake B. Bay says, are the Battlefield 6 servers going to go offline if the aliens come? I'm going to be so sad if that happens. Right. I don't care. In fact, if they do come, I'm going to go, demons, demonic. It's demonic. Ask him who Jesus is. Oh, they said he's a Pleiadian? Burn him. Shoot him. Shoot him and burn him. Yep. Don't care. Not interested. Maybe I'm just nihilistic because of all of the research. Although Timothy Alberino would say that we're swine and that's why all of his fucking word salad went over our heads. So I guess we've not done much research on the matter. But, okay, so precious metals could lose their safe haven status. It's interesting because you have silver climbing right now, unprecedented levels. And then if aliens came and it crashed, that would be quite silly. She further predicted okay, we saw that. If there was an official announcement and we get presented very going to dispute, I would say that in a matter of hours, you're going to have total financial instability. Man, I don't think so. Fallen angel could be alien, says no limits. Yeah, it's a high fucking possibility. What if the aliens wear little hats? Also a high possibility. Aliens, too big to fail? Banks are short $5 billion in silver, not enough supply to cover. Short squeeze into the hundreds. Oh, that's interesting. Pleiades linked to the muses of Apollo. Alberino sus. Yeah. Yes. Well, and back to the Alberino thing. I'm not even ready to say definitively this dude is, yes, demons are the disembodied spirits of dead Nephilim. Yes, we're aware of that. I'm not even ready to say that. You know what I think is happening with Alberino? And this is so number one, I think he's hit the point of diminishing returns with research to the point where he actually has trouble articulating it, which we saw. That was just evident. Like I said at the top of the show, if you can't articulate a concept in simple enough terms for a person to understand it, it's usually a good indicator that you don't understand that enough. This is true. Alberino does have badass hair, which I don't even understand why he wears the hat. Because if I had hair like Alberino, I wouldn't wear the hat. But whatever. So I think he's hit this point of diminishing returns. It's actually a place, and I'm not as well researched as Alberino, but I've hit this place recently where I'm like, for all the shit that I know and I've been exposed to over the last 20 years, none of it really serves me. It's just like, it's all jumbled up here. And, my brain doesn't work that well, so maybe there's something to be said about that. But I do think you hit a point of is there a point of diminishing returns on information is a fair question. And can you hit that point? But I forgot where the hell I was going with that. He's at the point of diminishing returns with the information. Oh yeah, and I don't think that he's necessarily like a bad actor as much. And there's room for that. Who knows? But it's like when you're in this place and you're going to megalithic structures and God knows that probably costs a lot of money. A lot of money, right? And I don't know how you're even funding these trips to Peru and you're doing all this shit and you're making these documentaries. Making documentaries costs a lot of money. I know because we have 3 documentaries that we have not produced because of how much money they cost. Or even hit the ceiling and now returns will diminish unless he nerds new words. I've hit the point of diminishing returns with words. Who funds them? He has like some billionaire buddies, which I don't even think that necessarily is as much of a red flag as it sounds like. We were about to link up with a guy that owns like half the town next door to us. And then you could have said like, oh, they're backed by millionaires, which wouldn't have been incorrect. It just never ended up happening. But is that necessarily nefarious on its own? Probably not. But I think like when you struggle for that long and now there's like real moving and shaking happening in this arena that Alberino has been really close to for a really long time. If you're Alberino, are you going to sit back and let these other motherfuckers make money? These Johnny-come-latelys? Dude's been crawling all over megalithic structures for a decade. Making documentary after documentary after documentary after documentary. Right? And you're going to let these other dudes come in here and make money? I mean, shit. So maybe then, when you do get involved in this and you're taking pictures of Elizondo and shit, you kind of can't say like crazy. I can say whatever I want. Which is fantastic. I think there's some people back here. They're getting upset at how loud I am. It sounds like there's people fighting outside the door. Anyway, how can somebody support the show? Biggest Fohead is Patreon. You're already on Patreon. We don't need any more money from you, Biggest. If you want to support the show. Oh, by the way, we're going to be doing that food pantry this coming week because Top went to New York. God, so much stuff to do. Anyway, yeah, dude, you're already on Patreon. Don't worry about it. You're all good. But yeah, so I do see it as like, all of a sudden this thing that you've been looking at is now on the world stage and there's all these people engaging with it. And I don't know about you, but I'd be like, move over, bitch. I've been here. Z-Man, I can say whatever I want. Immediately lowers his voice for disturb because it sounds like somebody's fighting out there. I don't want them to beat me up. It's like an old lady. She's going.
Leave me alone now. Leave me alone now.
I don't know what's happening. She could be. I should lock the door. Let me lock the door. I saw somebody say what is my shirt say earlier. Invite her in. No. It says blessed, but then it's got like, it looks like it's a demonic shirt because there's like a demon fighting a dude, but it's a Muay Thai shirt. Get yourself a gun. But yeah, this is not, it's not a demonic shirt. It's a Muay Thai shirt. Although maybe there's a good question as to blessed by who. I don't know. It's Alberino outside the door. Oh my God. So I don't even know what the hell I was saying here. Let's get back to this article here. My brain function is fading, and I got to stay on task. Okay. So, apparently there's going to be total financial instability. McCall pointed to recent developments, including statements from senior U.S. officials and ongoing declassification efforts as evidence that the government can no longer dismiss the topic. That's fascinating. So, recent developments, including statements from senior U.S. officials. I wonder if this is just statements to the public that she's aware of, or if she's been made privy to something. That's interesting. That's interesting. So a government can no longer dismiss the topic. She insists preparation is essential, even if the scenario seems unlikely. Read more. Do I have to pay to read more? Oh boy. No, but I got to open up another fucking tab to read more, huh? Civil unrest. Until recently, suggestions that the government were covering up the existence of alien life were limited to a small coterie of conspiracy theorists and UFO activists, meaning conspiracy theorists were right. However, a senior host of senior American officials, including the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the New York Senator Kristen Gillibrand, and James Clapper, a former director of national intelligence, have recently indicated their belief in the possibility of intelligent non-human life. Rubio chose a close ally of President Trump. Rubio is a close ally of President Trump, told the makers of the recently released, there it is, UFO documentary, The Age of Disclosure. We have repeated instances. So, here's one of the things that I'm really happy about with that debate that we had. Is that so Bank of England said America has to be the one to lead disclosure. I wonder if that's true. So one of the things that I'm really happy about with this Alberino documentary documentary debate is the episode is doing really well. And there's a lot of people that aren't from our side of the fence who accuse us of basically just grifting off Alberino. I actually don't care about many other conspiracies these days except for this one. And I think that even if I'm wrong about what Alberino's doing, if I'm right about it and he did it unintentionally, doesn't matter. What matters is we really made being rooted in the gospel, I think, the central point of that episode. So people are going to watch this and they're going to come away with being okay, yeah, maybe we should consider that these things are demons or demonic. And I don't think that could happen. How do I say this? With better timing, because it looks like this shit is kind of really here. It's really right on the horizon. Robert says, do we think Alberino is smart enough to be a part of anything? Seems like a pawn in a bigger game. He gets his balls feathered here and there to feel like a big boy at the table. Well, what I've learned is feds in the space are far and few in between. And the best asset is an unknowing asset. So I would say if I was a gambling man, I wouldn't put money on Alberino is in on anything. I would say honestly, it is a little bit weird. It's just weird to me. The weird thing to me is just that he's using the same language when it comes to Christians saying these are demons as the age of disclosure. Which, if you pushed Alberino out of this conversation, I think anybody would look at what the age of disclosure is doing and you would be like, no, dude. You're spreading doubt about the nature of these things. And you're making it so that people who do say this is demonic are going to get laughed out of the room. Alberino embellishes his work in Peru. I don't know. Does he? I mean, I've seen him crawl on the structures. Fucking dude looked like he was crawling on. I don't know. I did think it was a little bit weird that he believed the face peelers thing. He wants to be the Nephilim Fabio. one thing I do see is he does like, and look, who doesn't? But he does like that ego stroked. You know, go on Ninjas or Butterflies. You want people to sing a song about you. They sing a song about all their guests, so that's all right. But he likes it. He is a guy that really wants to be taken seriously. But I just don't like those two things in conjunction because, like I said, if you removed Alberino from the conversation, I'd be like, Age of Disclosure is doing something sneaky and really dangerous there by dismissing this notion of them being demonic. And I look over and I'm like, why is this guy doing it? Panda Fly says, my everything hurts. What's the matter, Panda? What's going on? Oh, are you sick? Are you sick? A little something going around right now. Not me. I'm very healthy, very virile, very strong. I hate his gay mustache. I like the way it swoops around. Very Three Musketeers. This guy is an amalgamation of hit movies. Ninjas or Butterflies clip was way old. He dug that up. Did he really? We need a Raven song, but first a Mr. Nasty song. Who's making songs? Egypt Disclosures, just a bandwagon if you're sensible about it. The only people buying it are retards. The whole disclosure thing in general. Doc Holliday. He does look like Doc Holliday. So, yeah, all right, let's get back to this thing real quick. Boom. Okay, so Rubio is a close he's talking about. We've had repeated instances of something operating in the airspace over restricted nuclear facilities, and it's not ours. Yeah, nothing new there, nothing interesting. This month, the Sunday Times disclosed previously declassified state files which showed that the British military sought to obtain extraterrestrial technology after receiving credible intelligence that UFOs appeared to be real and could outperform any known human craft. Once again, just like real old shit. Nothing new here. I did feel a little bit bad about that part in the debate when he's trying to tell us about the recovered craft program and the reverse engineering and then like the experimentation on countless, people that are taken and this technology is used on them and all the crime that's associated with keeping this like a blacklisted project. Like, I get it. But that's the thing here is that's not what we were here to talk about. Right? So I'm trying to stick on the main thing, which is hard when a guy just filibusters forever. But also, this is literally nothing we haven't talked about across hundreds of episodes of this show. So that's another thing. Like, his audience will come over here and they'll see him talking about all this stuff and it'll look like he's laying out pearls before swine. We have done this over and over and over and over and over again with hundreds of guests. We know this. You can't treat this like this is a run-of-the-mill episode. You came here to debate. If you pay to go on his site, he'll give you all the secret Q files, right? There's that. There is that. So yeah, a weird showing if you're not an NDS enjoyer, and you just showed up to our show for the first time and that's what you saw. It's like, dude, this is what we do. It's really interesting too because after that episode, I'm listening to like Ed Mabry on the Confessionals, and he's talking all about the spiritual realm, and then I'm looking at clips of Vicky Joy Anderson, and she's talking all about the spiritual realm, and I'm just like, it's weird, but it doesn't exist. Why are they? Why are they talking about that? Has anybody stopped to ask them to define the spiritual realm? It's just like, fuck. He wanted us to know how dark it is. Yeah, it's like, I know how dark it is. Right, Mr. Blappity? We all do. But that's just not what we're here to talk about, Timothy. Yes. Robert Wolf says talk about cryptids. Last night I was just thinking about cryptids a lot. And then I went and tried to type in like cryptids on X to be like, what kind of cool. And then I've been in all these Facebook groups trying to find people who have had experiences, and I'd like to talk to them about their supernatural experiences. Because honestly, I look over at my favorite show, which is The Confessionals, and I'm like, this dude is having all the fun. He's having all the fun. He's talking to people who have actually had experiences with these things, and that is endlessly fascinating to me. So I went in these Facebook groups, and I was like, it's like, what would you call it? Dogman sightings, cryptid, this man, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, if you've had an experience, reach out, let us know. Maybe we'll have you on the show. Butterfly People of Joplin. Right, that's 2011. After what? It's like a big event, a big catastrophic event, and the butterfly people show up. Was it a bomb? I sent a banger of a Chronicles, but I keep getting banged on. Bump it, Psalms. Just in case, resend it. It's okay. We won't look at it like you're doing too much. Resend it, because we get so many emails. Copy, paste it, resend it, please. Michael Heiser over Alberino. Look, Alberino has his. That's the thing too. Is like as much as he would say, don't listen to these guys because they're not Christian. Tornado. That's what it was. People were seeing shit. Right. That's an interesting one. As much as he would say, don't listen to these guys, they're not Christian, this and that. I'm not going to tell you to stop listening to Alberino. Like, don't take any of us in this space as some end-all, be-all authority on the intangible nature of aliens, demons, UFOs, the spirit realm. Like, that's silly. Like, go listen to Alberino. He's got a body of research and evidence that is very compelling. But just don't treat anybody like, they are the end-all, be-all when it comes to that. He's still got good things to offer. It's just funny because if he had it his way, it would be like nobody listens to Nephilim Death Squad. Like, all right. Maybe. You couldn't pay me to listen to him. I mean, I've listened to him enough that I think I've gotten what I think is valuable from him. Yeah, take it with a grain of salt. Kind Davey says. Take what we say with a grain of salt. He was condescending from the jump. And look, even though he was condescending from the jump, I made fun of him for like a month and a half leading up to it. But he didn't have a problem with it, and he still asked for the debate, and he still wanted to come on our show, and he didn't dismiss us and say that we weren't Christians until after it. Very interesting. What was I doing? I was reading this article. Let's get through this because it's already an hour and a half, and I got to get the hell out of here sort of soon. Okay, so McCall worked at the... what is this? Extraterrestrial technology after could be real. Okay. McCall, who worked at the Bank of England for 10 years until 2012, insists that politicians and bankers can no longer afford to dismiss the talk of alien life and what? And do what about little green men? What is that? What's that word? Snigger? The fuck? McCaw, who worked at the Bank of England for 10 years until 2012, insists that politicians and bankers can no longer afford to dismiss talk of alien life and N-word about little green men. The United States government appears to be partway through a multi-year process to declassify and disclose information on the existence of technologically advanced non-human intelligences responsible for unidentified anomalous phenomenon, UAPs again. She claimed, if the UAP proves to be of non-human origin, we have to acknowledge the existence of a power and intelligence greater than any government with potentially unknown intentions. Well, there's already one that you should have acknowledged, and that's the power of God, you moronic. It's entirely possible that the government leadership and their central banks have not been properly briefed on the topic. UAP disclosure is likely to induce ontological shock and provoke psychological responses with material consequences. I like that. Don't snigger at it. Don't do that. It sniggers about snigger. Oh, man. Sam says everything seemed cool at the end of the show, too. I thought the beef was squashed It was just like until the conversation picked back up again, and I think he kind of like sat with how he looked. You know what I mean? What happened to the Nazi Bell stuff? Oh, like the Vimanas or re-engineered Vimanas by the Nazi regime, but that was just Himmler. Hitler didn't want anything to do with the bells. It was Himmler. Yeah. I still maintain, Nancy says, a partly suppressed laugh or a broken laugh, a sly or snide laugh. Interesting. To snig. I still maintain that since we were incredibly consistent throughout the entire thing from beginning to end, and the only thing that changed was that he looked bad. I mean, I don't like Occam's razor because too many, intellectually superior morons, people that are actually just midwits on the bell curve, say, they appeal to Occam's razor constantly. But I think in this instance, it's just worth entertaining. Is that what happened here? Whatever happened to 3-Eye Atlas? Do we just assume that Osmosis Jones psyop that chills in our asshole? I don't know. Occam's razor is lame, right, dude? It is lame. Yeah, I don't know. 3-Eye Atlas was a weird thing. Shout out to Tim Pool. Why does he uses Occam's razor constantly, right? I think this might be the first time I've ever brought it up. As well, but I think Tuna is the one that brought it back up for a meme war. It was an extremely outclassed. I mean, I don't know. I think what we've done is we've made ourselves like a real terrible reputation on X. So if you look bad on YouTube, it is actually a pretty clever idea to see if you can't instigate us into continuing the conversation on X, where you can then paint us to look like assholes, and X will prove you correct. Our X history will prove you absolutely correct. So maybe there's something there, but that's attributing like 4D chess to a dude. I don't know that I want to do that. The melee in the skies, whoop my baby mama's hoe ass. Great point, right? The Cliff High predictions. You already had CPS called on you. Why stop now? Well, I'd like to continue my psychotic antics, if applicable, just in a less, I think it's favorable on the scale of things to piss off Alberino and his audience more so than all the blacks on Twitter. Go for gold. Reverse engineer this, just a Nazi reverse engineered craft. Yeah, well, I mean, in so many ways, right? If you take what Sean of Kingdom and Context laid out to us, which is very compelling, about not only the material existence of the pantheon of the Vedics, which Alberino would contest, they were never material beings or real beings, they were symbolic. But Sean maintains they were real and that they taught man how to make these things, or they had a technology. Actually, I don't know if they ever taught man, but they had a technology called Vimanas. Some of them were like bells. Some of them were entire flying cities. Irish Rooster says, Raven, you're cooler than Tim Pool and dress better. Lose the nose ring moving forward. You have enough pizzazz. Less is more. No, I have to have... part of my contract with Israel is that I have to have at least one overtly gay thing about me. So he lays out, pretty compelling that these Vimanas existed. And then when you look at them, this technology that these gods or demigods use to travel up to flying cities and all kinds of shit. And then you look at the bell-shaped UFOs. And then, of course, the swastika being taken primarily, I would say the Vedics had a real stranglehold on the swastika. So there seems to be some real borrowing of research and things of that nature from the Vedic belief system by way of the Nazi regime, or at least the occult wing that Hitler had no idea about. Israel just said it. I could switch to nipple rings. Yeah, but the thing with the nipple rings is it hurts on the shirt. You know. So I would agree with that statement of like reverse engineer technology. Like that's a great way of saying that. So, you know, that's the thing too, is when I talk to Tim about this, because he's like, he tried to like control the debate, which wasn't much of a debate. I mean, you let a dude filibuster for 50 minutes before you interject, and I don't think that's a debate. But in the beginning, he's like, I'd like to hear your definition of like what demons are or aliens are, or something like that. And I did say to him at one point, and I'll say it here for maybe if there's people that have come from his camp that don't know what I think. It's pretty clear that the whole alien situation is like super multifaceted. Within alien abductee experiences, you do have, despite what Tim says, events that seem to take place in the physical and events that seem to take place in the spiritual or the astral. You do have the presence of which Tim agreed with. He just said to what how would you say this? What volume this happens, how often this sort of thing happens is up for debate. He thinks it doesn't happen that often. I think it happens fairly often, you know, in the grand scheme of a thing that does not happen often at all to the general public. But in alien abductions, it does seem that you have an array of entities that are present, overlapping even at the same times. The Greys, the Nords, the insectolins, as he calls them, or the insectoids as they used to be called. I don't know why we're redoing the names, but fine. Voluminous. Did I use that word during the debate? Did I use it wrong? So, you know, you have this entity part, but you also have the presence of human beings, military personnel, scientific personnel, medical personnel. That happens a lot. So you've got an array of different entities, humans being among them. And then when it comes to the actual craft, you've got plasmoids. You've got orbs and discs. You've got things that I think are our technology that aren't ours, but then you have things that are technology that we reverse engineered that more than likely came from the ancients, like the Vedics and the Vimanas and shit. You have government programs that are involved in the, let's call it kidnapping or abducting of people. And then you've got other programs that seem to be headed by the entities that are abducting people. So it's like, it's super messy. It's super messy. So now if I said that, what I just said right there, I just made like 17 points that we can delve into that'll take an entire episode each. Which is why we did not ask him very many questions about all of the shit that he was saying. Can you get Alberino to debate Dustin Nemos? That would be great. Thanks. I don't even know. I think that's another guy that we're not communicating with, Dustin, just because he seems to have like fallen off the deep end. Dustin Nemos is a guy that's great on research, but he's just like, we gotta K these J's. What? It would be very funny to see that debate, though. It'd be very funny to see that debate. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. McCall added there might be extreme price volatility in the financial markets due to catastrophizing or euphoria. Catastrophizing. Never heard it used that way. Due to catastrophizing or euphoria, and a collapse in a collapse in confidence if market participants feel uncertain on how to price assets using any of the familiar methods. There might be a rush to perceive safe assets such as physical gold or other precious metals or some type of government bonds. I would say the safest asset would be ammunition. Alternatively, precious metals might lose their status as perceived safe assets if people speculate that new spacefaring technologies will soon increase the supply of precious metals. There might be a rush to digital currencies such as Bitcoin, which may prove appealing if people question the legitimacy of government and lose trust in government-backed assets. We're already there. McCall said to the authority, or said the authorities should also prepare for unrest and an unprecedented run on the banking system. I just don't know. I mean, does that sound like a thing people would do? They would make runs on the banks. They would pull all their money out if aliens were here. I feel like we would get a resounding like, okay. Like that would be the consensus. Or you'd have a lot of people that weren't in the know. Like, wait, what? Who just haven't been focusing on this thing. And then what you would get is like their nephew would go, no, it's okay, uncle. See, we've got guys in the military for like 30 years who have seen these things. There's a guy in the Navy who saw the Tic Tac. There's a guy in the Air Force who saw this. He's been in there for 28 years. There's this guy so we have all talking points. We've been given our talking points from all the documentaries. So those people would be helped along by the organic version of Mockingbird Media. But otherwise, I feel like we would just get a big old like, okay, so now what? If banks start failing, the payment systems will collapse. You'll have rioting on the streets because people can't fill their cars up with fuel or buy food in the supermarket. Ugh. In a matter of hours, we'll have financial instability, she said. Even if you feel it's very unlikely, it's madness not to consider it and plan accordingly. McCaw has written a chapter on the subject for an upcoming book edited by Dr. Alex Wendt, a professor of international security and political science at Ohio State University. All right. Well, she wrote a paragraph or wrote a chapter, so. She had little interest in the subject of UFOs until she stumbled upon peer-reviewed NASA. Oh, so once the experts say, we shouldn't listen to these fucking people. I feel like if you are in government, if you are in any sort of politics, and you have not and trying to bring this thing to the forefront, I'm sorry, I'm not listening to you. What's that, McCall? You didn't have an intro? Shut up. Shut up, you old bitch. Shut your mouth. I'm not listening to you. Not interested. That's like the same thing. If you were an atheist, yes, super cool, taste, but you can't contribute anymore. You can't do a long process before you get to come back and contribute. You know? Like, I wasn't always a Christian, but when I wasn't a Christian, I don't know. I would never say, definitely isn't real. I would say, no, I think God's real. I just don't know. Like, I don't know. Problem is not StreamYard. It's David's bad internet. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it's not StreamYard. Everybody's mad at StreamYard. It's not StreamYard. I saw it cut out for a second on my end. I don't know why. Got to pay that electric bill, or that internet bill, rather. But yeah, I just don't, I can't listen to you. I would sooner listen to a Stephen Greer, whose, opinion I would not take as gospel at all. But I need my information from somebody who was previously labeled a fucking crazy person. David Icke has been talking to entities that are, pretending to be ascended masters. I don't know. There's chanting outside the door. I think it's the women's AA meeting or NA. They tried to open the door before. Somebody in the chat told me to lock it. I locked it. And then like only moments later, I saw somebody trying to open it. We got to pray for David Icke. David Icke is cool, but like, remember I used to say like all he does these days is bitch and moan. Well, now he's complaining about Joe Rogan not inviting him on his show. And he's like, the booker reached out to me and then he didn't reach out to me anymore. Wall of text. I'm like, dude, stop bitching. Why are you complaining all the time? Stop doing that. He's contributed some good information. He's just like obviously Gnostic, leaning on his own understanding, being deceived by entities, coming to the conclusion that, you know, God is the demiurge. You fell for the shit. You know, you had a seizure, and in that seizure, these things talked to you and told you that they were ascended masters. And then you made a video declaring to be Jesus. What did my wife think about the episode debate? Well, my wife is very reasonable. And, yeah, for somebody who used to think he was Jesus, he sure is bitchy. Yep. She's very reasonable, and she sees her husband giggling and turning Alberino into a cat. And then she sees Alberino denounce us. And she goes, well, yeah, I mean, you made fun of him pretty relentlessly. So, you know, it's just so hard, though. It's like, I guess, yeah, I did make fun of him. Calling the Indiana Moans and then dressing like them and, you know, all that stuff. I guess it is making fun of him. Yeah. Port says, I used to love David 15 years ago. He's mad because Alex Jones doesn't have him on anymore. It's like all he does is get mad that nobody has him on. So, I don't know. You have to pay Matt for the 4 months of hydro and internet first. David Icke's son looks like a villain. I've never seen David Icke's son. Yeah, I'll give it a... well, let's finish this article. We're coming up to the 2-hour mark. I take so long to do anything, dude. Okay, so she had little interest in the subject, and now you should listen to her. Until she stumbled upon a peer-reviewed NASA paper entitled Unidentified Flying Objects in Classical Antiquity. Oh, that's very funny. You mean like Vimanas and shit? Written by the astronomer and planetary scientist Dr. Dick Stothers in 2021. I just thought it was Hollywood. I'm sorry, I just thought it was a Hollywood thing in that it was only backwards people that saw them. Yeah, you dumb. Hey, guess what? Back of the line, Macaw. Back of the line. You're not allowed to have an opinion on this because people have sleuthed through decades, generations of disinformation, fallen for psyop after psyop. And I think some of us have come to something that's reminiscent of the correct perspective, which is Jesus Christ. It's a long process from going, I think these things are real, to I think I understand their nature. You got to get to the back of the line, Macaw. Read your Dick Stothers paper and shut your mouth. I just thought it was a Hollywood thing and that only backwards people saw them. I didn't know that governments were studying them. You just said that backwards people saw them. Of course the governments were studying them. McCall, who has worked in wealth management and the financial technology since leaving the bank, accepts her beliefs will attract derision. A lot of friends think it's absolutely crazy, she said. Sadly, there's no point in talking to them about it because they won't even look at the information that's out there. My husband was really skeptical at first, but now he realizes that this is a really serious issue. She added, I sent quite a lot of information to a friend from the Bank of England. He said, Helen, you bitch. I believe you, but I hope you don't have to live in a world where this comes out. I can understand why people would prefer to live in comfortable ignorance, but it's frustrating. While keen to promulgate. What's it mean? What's that word mean, guys? Should I add it to my repertoire? Should this be a new word that I use often? Promulgate.
To make known to the public.
Damn, I forgot you were here. You scared the shit out of me. While keen to make known to the public her views, McCall will not accept invitations to appear on specialist UFO podcasts. Why? Why? Because people with information, you want to avoid them? Is that it? You don't know anything, woman. The whole UFO community is just a bit Wild West. Oh, good. So we should trust the experts and don't go to the community that's been parsing through this information seriously for a long time. She said, I don't need to convince people who already know this is real that it's real. What is the point if you're not going to observe the nature of a thing? What does it matter to just say it's real? It's like, okay, great. What is the nature of it? That seems the most important thing. I mean, I guess, yeah, secondary to is it real, but geez. What I need to do is try to help get government people briefed. Briefed on what? You're just telling them it's real? In 2021, Barack Obama suggested that UFOs appeared to be real, but said their origin, whether man-made or otherwise, was unclear. Maybe look to the UFO community. Look through the Wild West, who has been right, at the very least, about their existence for all this time. You think you would go, actually, we're not the experts in this at all. Let's look to what the people who believe this entire phenomenon have to say about it. What is true, and I'm actually being serious here, is that there's footage. She's being serious. And records of objects in the skies that we don't exactly know what they are. We can't explain how they move, their trajectory. Jeez, man. Embarrassing. In November, Dan Farah, the American film and documentary director and producer, told The Guardian, I think it's only a matter of time before a sitting president steps up to the podium and tells the world that we are not the only intelligent life in the universe. The Bank of England declined to comment. Man, took me forever to read that shit, huh? I don't know. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to look at, the experts have the data in their hand and try to this is important. Did you know there's videos? Did you know? Have you ever seen? You got to go. You got to get out. You got to get off the stage. But we don't look to the UFO community because it's the Wild West. Hey, if this is real, dedicate as much time and resources as you can to understanding that Wild West. Because they were right. They were right that it exists. And you were wrong. So get off the stage. I would be almost happier with David Icke being up there and catching people up to speed. If it wasn't for the fact that he'd catch them up to speed to the idea that, Jesus is the avatar for the demiurge, which I now understand to be no more profound than Stranger Things season 5. But man, you gotta shut up and get off the stage and give me Stephen Greer. Now I know Stephen Greer has an insatiable appetite for man penis. I know that. Okay, but still, he might have something more compelling to say than this lady. I mean, even Age of Disclosure is like, I watched that, and this is where if I may disagree again with Timothy Alberino, and this isn't even on an informational basis. This is just like, you thought that was good? You thought Age of Disclosure was good, dude? You quoted Bilbo Baggins on this show. You quoted Pirates of the Caribbean or Caribbean on this show. Those are good. How dare you sit in that chair in front of a painting of Isaac Newton, channeling entities with your eyes closed, and tell me that was good? It sucked. It was so boring. They tried to add this triumphant score about an underdog, the hero of the story, who rises up to a position where now he's being taken seriously. Why would you? It was so bad. Have you ever Caribbean? I mean, I don't understand it. Even his taste in movies is confusing to me. How could you be a Lord of the Rings enjoyer? Clearly a man of taste. And then go, The Age of Disclosure was good. It sucked, dude. David Wilcox above Majestic is infinitely better than Age of Disclosure. Is it fucking insane? Did it like kick off the QAnon phenomenon? Yes, sure, yeah. Yeah, dude. It was, yeah. But it was fun. David Wilcox deserves to be where Timothy Alberino is. David Wilcox deserves the accolades that Timothy Alberino has. Not because he's right, but because he's more fun. Above Majestic was great. Guys, have you ever seen Above Majestic? Fuck, dude. David Wilcox, Steve Greer. These are fun people. These are fun people. And they're fundamentally broken. And they cannot hide the skeletons in their closet. And that's what makes it great. A great character is highly flawed. Timothy Alberino's closet is too well tidied up. Something is hidden in that closet. I know what's in David Wilcox's closet. I know who's in Stephen Greer's closet. Muscly, oily men. But what's in your closet, Timothy Alberino? Why is everything so clean in here? A little too clean, if you ask me. What are you really up to? Were you channeling on our show? Is Stephen Greer in your closet? The soundtrack in Above Majestic was dope, dude. It was awesome. It was awesome. That whole documentary was awesome. In fact, that is a documentary I would love to watch with you guys. Watching Age of Disclosure was really sad. It really sucked. Yeah, Port says Matt from Quite Frankly was calling Alberino a Catman like 2 years ago. Somebody brought that to my attention, and then I sent that to Frank. I think Frank's probably horrified with what's going on because Frank likes Alberino and he really likes us. And I think Frank sometimes just doesn't understand the quality of psychopath that we actually are here on Nephilim Death Squad. So he looks over to us and he's like, yeah, those are my friends. They make a good show. And then every once in a while he looks back over at us and he goes, what the fuck is what's going on? What are they doing to Timothy Alberino? Why are they doing that? And we go, you don't understand, Frank. You don't understand what he's doing. What if he caught an agent provocateur and didn't realize it? To me, that's the funniest shit in the world because he's probably sweating his ass off. If he is like an agent provocateur, goodbye, Rory. Then he's got to be freaking out. He's like, how the fuck do these retards, how are they catching on to me? No, I know Frank loves us. I love Frank. But I think he's probably looking at, because I texted him the other day. I forgot what he said. He was like, oh, I got to check out that debate. I'm like, it's not fun. It's not fun. And he never hit me back. So, no, that's the other door. That we have two doors. One is the one to the crazy old ladies who were definitely trying to get in a moment ago. The shop just shut down 8 minutes ago, so I'm good. They're gone. But then the other door leads to the back of house for the coffee shop. So that was just Rory. She's one of the girls that works here. Good kid. Always hiding around corners and shit to scare me. Like jump scare me. And I'm very susceptible to jump scares. I always think like somebody's actually fucking... Ooh, what's up? I would like to watch it, go to sleep, but I'm not paying to watch it. I think we should watch. Oh, Frank was just talking about us within the last couple of days. No, I don't pee a little bit. Chuck. I want Frank to come to Bohemian Grove. We just got to figure out like what's going on. I love Frank. Love the Franklies. Fucking awesome. It was fun for you, it seemed. No. If you watched that debate, it was not fun for me. It sucked ass. Oh, yeah, my wife did scare me today. How'd you scare me today? Hey, Bear Trap Studios. Yeah, it was really boring for me. It really sucked. I love fun conversations, dude. I love when they go like, hey, I don't know for sure this would happen, but this is what I think is happening, and it's really interesting. And I go, fuck, dude, I see what you're saying. I actually couldn't see what he was saying, like, in the vast majority of what he said. Frank can mediate the violence. What violence? Greer was called King of Disclosure back in 2009. Yeah, it actually kind of sucks for him because it seemed like they've been gearing up for disclosure for a long time now, and they had their kind of figureheads that they wanted situated. Yeah, Prometheus Lens, 100% I need a speaker for Bohemian Grove, and we'd love to have you. In fact, if you weren't there, I'd be quite sad about it. But I was talking to somebody recently about just the nature of like other events that are kind of like Bohemian Grove and how like in those other events, they make an effort to kind of like blackball people and all this other shit. And I look at those events and I go like, Bohemian Grove should be bigger. And we should support all the fucking homies because a rising tide raises all ship. And so I'm kind of like readjusting on my vision of the next Bohemian Grove. So we'll let you know when it's happening, dude. But we'd love to have you. What is a demon? Don't fucking do that, Bear Trap. But yeah, they've had these people for a while now, you know, for a couple of decades at least. Wilcox being one of them, Stephen Greer being another one of them, you know, and they keep positioning these people and it just fucking kind of, it's not time yet, whatever. And now Elizondo is the next one. He's the big guy. And our boy Alberino is he's trying to position himself in there. How much of Birthright did you really read? I didn't read any of Birthright. Matt did and Top did. Oh, shit, I got to pick up our kid. Fuck. Thanks, babe. Thanks for reminding me. All right, I gotta bring this in for a landing. I got to pick my kid up in like 15 minutes. He lives like 4 minutes away. Well, Nancy says I lied. He goes, did you read the book? And I go, yeah. And then I look over to Top, and he doesn't say anything. And I'm like, well, I guess that's where we're leaving it. Because he did read it, and so did Matt. So I thought we were going to get into that. But I think the whole thing was like, I was intimidated by his masculinity. I was intimidated by his mustache. But it was like a huge risk to get into any minutia on anything because it would be filibuster after filibuster after filibuster. So yeah, it was just not something that I heard it was pretty good. But then Top said that the last 25% of it was like, what the fuck? You know, so I bet he hasn't read his own book either. Yeah, I don't know. It's a book. It's a back and forth all in the same hour. It's distressing sometimes. How do we do it, guys? Hey, it's JC. Hi, JC. All right, guys, I got to get out of here. I got to go pick up my kid. Thanks for watching. Top's going to be back today. So what I'm hoping is we got Ed Mabry for Friday, and we're going to talk a lot about the spiritual realm that doesn't exist. So don't tune in for that. I think we're probably going to do a Nef to America because, we got to talk about all this. Maybe Matt will come on and he'll unpack some of this too. And because so far you guys have really only gotten my take on it, we have to talk about it. So, if you're tired of this shit, don't tune into that one. But it's not going to just be my opinions. It's going to be these other guys. Cheney, that's another one too that has to get the fuck over here. Cheney. And I hope that Cheney will be at Bohemian Grove when we announce it too. We got to link up, Cheney. We got to do an episode here, and we got to figure out if you can come to the next one. Straight Bible. I think we're going to do a straight Bible. So we're trying to pack in some things. What do we got? 3 days after this. So Neff to America, Straight Bible, episode with Ed Mabry. So that's definitely 3 episodes, maybe one more. Donut, of course, all those old, all the homies who have been on, since the jump and who have been at Bohemian Grove, Donut, Thomas the Paranoid American, Cheney, all those guys they're 100% guaranteed to be there. And I think that's really what I've come to is like I said, there are other big events like this. They kind of gatekeep and they tend to blackball people. And I want Bohemian Grove. Jack is walking home now. I want Bohemian Grove to raise up all those ships who have been a part of this thing since the jump. So yeah, guys like 7 Seas, Prometheus Lens Podcast, Stephen of the Biblical Hitmen, Cheney, Thomas, Donut, all these guys. So those guys are all guaranteed. And then we got to get some other faces that are big favorites from the show. So, we'll figure that out. All right, guys, I'm going. Thank you guys for keeping me on track. All right. Love you guys. Thank you for watching. And I'll probably see you tomorrow. Peace out.